Talk is cheap, honey. Talk is cheap. Hi guys, welcome to my YouTube channel. It's your girl Ayo Glow here. This channel is all about faith, fashion, and lifestyle. So if you're interested in any of those things, please feel free to subscribe. Today I wanted to talk about how faith without works is dead. I know that in my last video I talked about dreams and a lot of the things that may come in our way or may make us feel like we're not worthy of carrying out our dreams. Now that we've moved on and know that we're worthy and know that God's got our back, I wanted to give you guys some tips on when you're in the process of actually pursuing that dream, pursuing the mission that God has put on your life. These are some essential things that are going to help you make sure that this is not just a seasonal dream that you're seeking after, but making sure that it goes on for the long run. Tip number 1, start. Right? Sounds very simple. You have to start. Oftentimes, I don't know about you, I think about like when I want to go to the gym and I want to start working out and getting healthy again. The more that I think about it, like right before I'm about to go to the gym and I'm like, oh, should I go today? Or maybe today's not a good day. I'm not feeling that well. You come up with all these excuses. So if you spend too much time sitting on that dream and too much time thinking about it, sometimes you end up talking yourself out of doing it, period. And it's like you never really carry it out. Your job is not to just sit on it. God has given it to you so that you can carry it out. And also, you have to use the faith that you have and actually apply works to them. Show God that you really want this dream by putting the work behind it. Talk is cheap, honey. Talk is cheap. Put some work behind that talk. Put some work behind that faith. A lot of people are like, oh, God will take care of it. God's got me. And I really used to be that person where I used to think that, oh, everything that I want, God's just going to give it to me and I don't really have to do much for it. But it does not work like that. Like, we really have to partner with God. It is a partnership. God gives you favor. He opens doors that no man can open. He shuts doors that no man can shut for you. So he's going to make a way for you regardless. Like, you will be the exception for a lot of things, and God's favor is on your life. So you will receive things in a new way, in ways that maybe other people might not have received it, baby, because that's what it is to have the favor of God upon your life. But you have to apply your works alongside it, or else it's dead. I wanted to go to James 2:14, where it says, what good is it, my brothers, if someone says he has faith but does not have works? Ooh. So just like I said before, talk is cheap. You have to walk the walk instead of just talking. I'm big on that. Like, I rather show you how I'm going to do something instead of just talking about it. Sometimes I don't have time to talk. We don't have time to talk. We just have time to work. Execute your faith. Show people how much faith you have by what you're willing to put on the line. Next tip. Tip number 2 is be willing to make sacrifices. Now, with anything that you're going to go after, with anything that you really want, oftentimes there's a sacrifice. Like, God wanted to be closer to us, so he was willing to sacrifice his one and only son and allowed his son to die in our place of our sin, our transgressions, our sickness, our diseases, all that. So the same way that God made such a great sacrifice, there will be some sacrifices when you're going after your dream. You just have to decide whether you're willing to make those sacrifices. You're going to have to sacrifice time. You're going to have to sacrifice money, maybe some relationships, maybe some old habits. I know for me, I'm learning how to be very disciplined in this season and be more of a planner. I am not a planner. I'm very on the whim, like butterflies, rainbows, like life goes how it goes. But I'm learning that that doesn't always work for every circumstance. So I'm learning how to be a planner, and that takes a lot out of me because I'm not that person. But the same way that God made that sacrifice, it took a lot out of him, so it's going to take a lot out of you. And that taking out of you is going to help you grow and stretch even more. You have to be willing to invest in yourself. You have to be willing to buy books, willing to do your research. In 2 Timothy 2:15, it says, Study to show yourself approved unto God. So you have to do your studies. Guys, YouTube is literally like an online university. Like, I'm surprised that they're not giving out degrees, because there's so much information out there for whatever area of research that you want to do, whether it's photography, modeling. I have a few friends, they do photography. They have a great photography page. I'll put their YouTube link in the description box below if that's what you're interested in. And there's just all types of resources for you to go after in this age of where we have so much access to technology. Things like Instagram, Twitter, Facebook, Snapchat, Google. You can find anything and everything. And do not be afraid to learn from other people, because maybe your dream, whatever it is that you're doing, somebody might have done it before or in a different way. It does not hurt to do your research and find out the things that they may have done wrong, so that you don't have to make those same mistakes. So be willing to learn. Continue to put yourself in a position of being teachable. It is so important to be teachable. I advise you guys to never feel like, oh, I've arrived, like I'm too good to learn anything new. You never know what you could learn that could help your craft grow even more. Tip number 3, know your why. It is so important to know why you are doing what it is that you're doing, because your why will sustain you. Your why will help you persevere. Your why will be the exact thing that you look back to when times are getting hard and you're like, you know what? I'm fed up. So you got to go back. Why am I here? Why am I doing this? Why am I going after this? What is the purpose? What is the point? And if your why is not strong enough, quitting will always be your number one option. I know for the things that I'm going after, my why is what I stand on. It is my foundation, literally. God gave me my why. So I'm like, okay, quitting is never, ever the first option when going after your dreams, because times it will get rough. This is why you need to know your why, so you can remind yourself, okay, this is why I'm doing this. This is why I can make it through. Hard times will come, but they will not overcome you. They will come, but they will not overcome you. And you have to know that. In the word, it says, no weapon formed against you shall prosper. So the weapons may rise up. The circumstances can rise up. They can do all the rah-rah they want. The enemy can do all the rah-rah he wants. But guess what? They're just blank threats, and they're not going to overcome you. And you know what? Your why is going to help you with the naysayers. It's going to help you with the people who may not be agreeing with you, who may not be for you. Because believe it or not, guys, there will be people who will have something negative to say. But your why will help you stand your ground and not be moved nor shaken by their opinions. And sometimes it's even the people that are closest to you, whether it be your families or really close friends. You have to choose to believe God over them and allow for God's opinion to matter more than their opinion. Because if God be for you, who can be against you? Nobody. Tip number 4, do not compare yourself. Don't you dare do it. Guys, this is a very tempting thing to do when you're going after something that you want, because this world is so big and there's just so many people who are so creative and so amazing, because God is a creative God. So all his children are creative, you know, so it can be very tempting to look at other people's works that are similar to yours and compare yourself. And I want to encourage you not to do that, because one of the greatest gifts you have is the fact that you are you and nobody else is like you. Nobody else is like you. Nobody can do what you do. Nobody speaks like you. Nobody talks like you. Nobody looks like you. And that's your greatest gift. So trying to be like someone else and walking in the lane that they're in that wasn't designed for you can lead to inauthenticity. And you don't want to be inauthentic in the very craft that you're in, because the best place to thrive is where you're being yourself. You're being exactly who God has made you to be. And you see so many people just being their self, and they're so successful because they're walking in the lane that was made for them. It's like, hold up, God made a lane just for you. Nobody can take that away from you. Doing something that somebody else does, that can easily be taken away from you. Actually, it's not strong enough to sustain you and to help you keep going, because you're faking it until you make it. And at some point, people will see that you're faking it. You will see that you're faking it. It doesn't feel good to just not be yourself. I want to encourage you that you are enough. Everything that you are, everything that you're doing, all your quirks, everything about you that's unique is there for a reason, and that is more than enough, and that is all that God needs to work with. Tip number 5, declare that promise, declare that dream back to God on a daily. Guys, I cannot stress this enough. There's power in the tongue. So basically, you can either speak life or you can speak death with the words that you allow to come out of your mouth. So you have to constantly remind God of the promises, because this is a dream from him. First of all, this has to be a dream from him, because if you're doing anything else that God didn't tell you to do, you will not have the grace to keep going. It just gets messy, and it's like, it's really not worth it. I suggest that whatever dream it is, pray that it is from the Lord. And if the Lord wants you to drop it, drop it. If it's not for this season, it's not for this season, and that's okay, and you can carry it on whenever the Lord puts it on your heart to keep going. But I'm speaking to people who feel like they need to start now, or who have felt convicted for a while that they need to start now. So make sure that it's from the Lord, and when it's from the Lord, you can declare it back to him. You can say, God, you said that I would do X, Y, and Z. You said that I would be in this X, Y, and Z place. And also put yourself in a place where you are flexible. Because sometimes God does stuff in ways that we do not understand or we do not get. And most times they're in ways that we did not plan for things to happen. Like, you may have planned X, Y, and Z, like, I'm going to get it done this way. But God does it another way that still ends up having you be successful, which is why you have to be flexible. Look at this whole COVID-19 situation. Nobody would have anticipated for this to happen. I'm sure everybody had their own plans, but more than anything in this season, I've learned that you have to be flexible. You have to be willing to, like, let your gifts still thrive even in situations like this. Okay, now I'm not saying that it's easy to be flexible, but it's doable. And you have to come to that place, because things happen, like I said before. And something that I wanted to mention too is that a closed door does not mean that it's a no from God or that God is punishing you. You have to understand, sometimes when a door closes, that means that God has an even greater opportunity for you. And it's all about how your perspective is. Continue to remind him, but also acknowledge who you're reminding to. Remember that God is sovereign and God is king over all, and God has this down packed. He's been God for a long time. So if something's not working out, if there's a door that closed in this season, it may feel like a missed opportunity. In the next season, you'll be grateful that that door closed, because something else came and something better came, and he has your best in mind, and you have to remember that. And I wanted to end off with telling you guys about a story in the Bible about Joseph the dreamer. It's absolutely just such an amazing story. If you guys have any time, I would definitely recommend reading about him, especially if you're pursuing your dreams. Okay, so Joseph was the son of Jacob. He was his father's favorite. He had several siblings that did not like him because he was his father's favorite. And God would give him dreams about how he would rule over his family and rule over all and just be in a very high position. This is where homeboy messed up. He went to go tell his brothers that already don't like him that God gave him these dreams. And his brothers were like, why is he just thinks he's all that, doesn't he? Let's show him something. So what his brothers decided to do was throw him in a ditch, lie and say that he died, and basically sold him to slavery. Joseph has this dream that he was going to be on top of the world, ruling over his family. How does being sold into slavery line up with that? I would be very confused. So Joseph gets sold to this priest named Potiphar. This guy, he's a big deal in town, you know, and because Joseph's work ethic is really good, Potiphar makes him his head honcho, his head assistant, right? So he puts him in charge of basically everything in his household. Now, coming to Potiphar's wife, this lady really thought that Joseph was about to be her pool boy. She was like, oh, I'm trying to see something. Like, she basically wanted to sleep with him and asked him, and he said, oh no, we're not gonna do that, because your husband has put me in charge of everything, and for me to do that to him, I would never. He wasn't gonna do that. So homegirl was upset. So she took his cloak, held it by her bed, and when her husband came home, she told him, she said, Joseph tried to put moves on me, and here's his cloak to prove it. Potiphar was big mad and sent Joseph to jail. Now, being in Joseph's position, imagine, God gave me a dream that I would be ruling over all these people, and I would have, like, I would just be on top. And this is not lining up. I'm in jail. How does that line up with what God said? Right? So he's in jail, and because of his work ethic, again, they put him in charge of doing stuff, because Joseph is just that guy. Like, there was a reason why Potiphar wanted him, okay? They said that he was handsome. Even in jail, Joseph found favor because he was that guy. And in jail, he ends up meeting two of Pharaoh's assistants. I believe it was a baker and some guy that was in charge of, you know, watching what Pharaoh eats. So people dealing with food, right? So they come to jail and they have these dreams that they need Joseph to interpret. And Joseph ends up interpreting their dreams. And before they leave the jail, he tells them, he says, don't forget about me here. The guys, they leave. Everything that Joseph said about their dreams happened, but they end up forgetting about him. 2 years later, Pharaoh has this dream and he's trying to interpret it. He has all his assistants, all the people working for him, trying to interpret it, and they don't remember. And one of the people that was in jail with Joseph, who got their dream interpreted, went to Pharaoh and was like, I know a guy who can interpret your dreams. Pharaoh ends up sending his officials to go get Joseph and to come to him to interpret his dream. Joseph interprets his dream and is able to help Pharaoh with the dream and ends up being Pharaoh's assistant. And at the end of the day, his family ends up coming to Pharaoh's, you know, palace and needs help from Joseph. And that's how the dream panned out. But guess what? Joseph had to put himself in a place of being flexible in order for the Lord to really do what it is that he promised for him to do. It's not that God forgot about him. It's not that God left him alone. It's just that he really had to trust God and trust that God is a man of his word and that he was going to carry it out. But a lot of us, when things trip up, when we end up in our, you know, own versions of jail, it's like, man, God forgot about me. God's not going to carry this out. No, he knows and he remembers, which is why you have to constantly speak aloud those promises. Speak them aloud against your circumstances. Speak them aloud to God and remind him, God, this is what you've promised me, and it will come to pass. I pray that this blesses you. I'm going to pray now. Father, I thank you for each and every person watching this. God, I pray that you would bless them from the crown of their heads to the soles of their feet. And Heavenly Father, I thank you for how great you are. I thank you for how sovereign you are. I thank you for knowing all things and being the Alpha and the Omega, knowing the beginning and the end, and even the middle, Father. I thank you that you know everything about this person and you know exactly what they need to do in this season. And I pray that you would reveal it to them, God. Make it clear, God, that they would write down their vision and make it plain, God, and build up their faith to believe that you will carry this out. No matter what it looks like, no matter what they may lack, God, I thank you that you are bringing the resources, you are bringing the people, you are bringing whatever it is that they may need to complete the vision that you've given them. We give you all the honor, all the glory. In Jesus' name I pray, amen. Thank you guys so much for taking the time to watch this. I love y'all. Please like, comment, and subscribe. Let me know what you thought about this message. And I will see you on Saturday. I'll be uploading on Wednesdays and Saturdays. Gonna try to be consistent. Love y'all. Have a great rest of your day. Bye. Mwah.